Is Reddit a battleground for the souls of humanity? Is there spiritual warfare happening in the Reddit comment section? Are there angels and demons up in these comments battling for human souls? Will this subreddit have me losing my religion like Michael Stipe of REM?
That's me in the corner.
Let's find out. And if you like falling down the Reddit rabbit hole, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and the thumbs up. Welcome to Our Atheism, the web's largest atheist forum. All topics related to atheism, agnosticism, and secular living are welcome. What about Christians? What about people like me who believe the radical man God Yeshua is the Lord of the Most Highest? Come on. The guy wore flip flops and a robe and never carried any cash. You're telling me he didn't create that magical plant? I'm convinced in one of the lost books of the Bible, one of the miracles that Jesus performed was turning swag into sensimilla. So, are Christians allowed on this Our Atheism subreddit? Come on, we want to challenge God's authority too. Isn't questioning your faith good for you? Doesn't it help solidify it? I believe it puts some character on your chest, or some hair on your character, or however that saying goes. Now, before we get to the thread, have we as a society discussed or decided who the Grim Reaper works for? Like, is he a self employed rogue agent just dealing in the industry of death? Or does he work strictly for Lucifer, bringing people to hell? Or does he just work for God, bringing people to heaven? Or is he subcontracted out to both and he brings people to hell and heaven? Does anybody know who the Grim Reaper works for? Please leave it in the comments. Now on to the thread. Would you follow the Christian God if it turned out they were real? Interesting use of pronouns. I like it. Personally, no. Even if I was provided irrefutable proof of their existence, like the being themselves came down and showed themselves to me, I would sooner be eternally damned than worship him. Whew, right out the gate. Powerful statement. I mean, how weird is it to make a race of sentient creatures and instruct that they worship you weakly for making them because it was so hard for you in all of your omnipotence? Oh, God, was it tough creating us? Did you have to rest on the seventh day? Why'd you take the weekend off, big guy? Anyways, how messed up is it to make a place solely for the purpose of torturing souls for eternity? You'd think a kind and benevolent God would make something more like a help center to improve the people who deserve to go to hell. But no, eternal torture is ideal. I hate to see the line at that help center. It must be an eternity long line. And isn't what this person is describing, a help center to improve people, just the definition of reincarnation? Again, I'm not a reincarnation expert or professional, but isn't their belief that they're reincarnated as something else to atone and pay for the lessons or learn to elevate themselves to a higher vibration and be better in the next life? Isn't that why they get reincarnated and come back here? Because they have to keep growing as a spiritual, ethereal, eternal being? Maybe this person just needs to look up what reincarnation is, and maybe that's what they believe in. Anyways, and despite what Christians seem to believe, God is responsible for not just the good in the world, but also the evil. Why would I ever follow the thing that created poverty, diseases, natural disasters, and child deaths? Good point. I struggle with that one every day. Well, why do they say, despite what Christians seem to believe, that God is responsible for not just the good, but also the evil? Don't Christians believe that God created the devil? Like he created it all. Christians are well aware that he created the heinous stuff and the good stuff. That's the whole mystery of faith. God created an angel that rebelled and started a revolution against him, hence Satan and the demons. But we continue on. But most importantly, in the words of Richard Lale Lillard, I don't know who that is. Quote, I would never worship a God that would send someone to an eternal lake of fire to be burned forever for the simple fact of non belief. when that deity knows what it would take to convince every single person on this planet? That is cruel, it is inhumane, it is not kind, it is not generous, and that is not a God worthy of worship. End quote. It's a powerful quote. And I think what they're referencing is that a lot of these churches, when they do missionary work and they send people all around the globe or they translate the Bible into a billion languages, is because something in the religion, forgive me, I'm not an expert, I'm just an ordained reverend, but something in the religion says, like, you got to spread the new good news, the gospel across the globe. And once it reaches every ear, it touches every heart, then Jesus will return. Again, quote me loosely on that. But that's why they're trying to spread the word of Jesus everywhere. So if that's all it takes, send Jesus back for the second coming, have him go on tour with Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and trust me, a lot of people might be convinced if they saw Yeshua up on stage with T Swift. But he doesn't do that. And then they end up at the eternal lake of fire. Great Nirvana song. Edit. I love how the responses are divided between, of course I would, he's all powerful. I would because hell sucks and I don't want to end up there. And neither do you. And no, I would never follow that cruel and sadistic POS. Alright, so I think this edit is jumping a little ahead and already commenting on the comments, but is there a gray area? I would think it's that black and white. Like, of course he's all powerful, or no, it's cruel. Is there, seriously, is there a middle ground here? Let me know in the comments. Edit 2. For those of y'all calling us who are saying, no, stupid, do you really think you were the only ones intellectually gifted enough to realize torture equals bad? And do you really think God is dumb enough to let you into heaven if you only follow him because you don't want to end up in hell? My point is that Lucifer's whole thing was trying to usurp God, right? Right. I'd sooner support that fight than follow God. Either way, heaven and hell are both not all they're cracked up to be. Well, that statement is suspect. Has this person had a near-death experience? How do they know that heaven and hell are both not all they're cracked up to be? What if you went to heaven and you saw Tupac opening for Kurt Cobain, who was going to duet with Amy Winehouse, and you got to sit and have supper while you watched this show with Tony Bourdain? I would say that heaven is all it's cracked up to be. So, OP, original poster, I find that statement a bit suspect. We don't know how good or how bad hell and heaven are yet. We all will one day, though, won't we? But just so we're clear, despite what you clearly think, you aren't the only ones who realize that torture isn't something they want. That being said, I fear I might cave. My pride does not surpass my desire to not be eternally tortured. So I see your point. Yeah, the threat of eternal torture. Let's just say the threat of torture is enough for some people to crumble. Eternal torture? You got my undivided devotion, God. Alright, and now to the comments. No, he's horrible. A jealous, bratty tyrant. An abuser. A bully. Wait a minute. I think he said the Christian deity, right? So that would be Jesus? And like that, the latest, the newest God 2.0, God in the flesh, Jesus. Jesus wasn't a bratty tyrant or an abuser or a bully. They're talking about the dude who said, love your enemy, being a bully. Jesus was absolutely not a bully. Don't make fun of his baldness, though. He'll send a bear to maul you. You know what? You know the backstory on that comment? Let's discuss this one. The prophet Elisha, which is a guy, by the way. Here's the passage from the Bible that commenter was talking about. He went up from there to Bethel, and while he was going up on the way, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him, saying, "Go up, you bald head! Go up, you bald head!" And he turned around, and when he saw them, he cursed them in the name of the Lord. And the 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore 42 of the boys. From there he went on to Mount Carmel, and from there he returned to Samaria. Speaking about the prophet Elisha, this is a shocking incident. So it says, at the end of the second chapter of Second Kings, we read the shocking climax of the vicious she-bears. As he retraces his steps, Elisha, the prophet Elisha, passes through Bethel, the notorious center of the false worship in Israel. At that moment, some of the small boys came out of the city and jeered at him. This is not a couple of bored children using inappropriate language to an adult. There are at least 42 of them. Jesus, it's like a roving gang of kids. The word for small boys can equally mean youth, as a bunch of wild Utes causing havoc and chaos, which in the context seems to make much more sense. In all likelihood, this is not a few unruly children being disrespectful to an adult. This is a mob of hostile Utes. This hostility is also reflected in their abuse. Quote, "Go up, you bald head. Go up, you bald head," is an interesting choice of language, it says. This is not innocent teasing of a follicle-challenged stranger. Geez, just say bald. Way to church that one up. Getting all fancy. A follicle-challenged stranger. That's a pretty good insult, though, to someone that's bald, calling them follically challenged. For a start, Alicia's head would have been covered, so this is a deliberate, targeted insult. I'm surprised they didn't target and insult him for his name being Alicia. They went after him for being bald? And in light of the fact that Elijah, another prophet, was quite hairy, oh, didn't know that, TMI, it becomes obvious that the youths are, in fact, denying Elisha as the true successor to Elijah. And therefore, they are denying that he speaks the word of Yahweh, God. When they tell him to go up, they may be telling Elisha to go up to worship Baal. And if not, they are certainly telling him to get out of town. Beat it, you baldy. In any case, this is clearly a rejection of the one who brings the word of Yahweh. You don't want to be dissing God's prophets. And it says, it is still a shock, however, when, rather than rebuking them or threatening to report them to your parents, I'm pretty sure if this was a roving gang of 42 Utes and you were like, I'm going to tell your parents, they would have whooped your butt. Anyways, Elisha curses them in the name of the Lord. Elisha does not swear at them. He announces a covenant curse. Ooh, these are some real Old Testament vibes here. A curse like that in Leviticus 26:21 through 22, which reads, quote, okay, so we're about to read a covenant curse. Memorize this. If you walk contrary to me and will not listen to me, I will continue striking you sevenfold for your sins. Is that where the band Avenged Sevenfold got their name? Anyways, the covenant curse continues. And I will let loose the wild beasts against you, which shall bereave you of all your children, and destroy your livestock, and make you few in number, so that your roads shall be deserted. Whoa, that is a heavy covenant curse. Bereave you of your children, destroy your livestock, and make you few in number? Oh, damn. I gotta write that down. Practice that one. Next time somebody F's with me. Like, I'm breaking out the covenant curse, bitch. Anyways, these are covenant bears. Ooh, that sounds like a heavy metal band. Covenant bears. Oh no, they wouldn't sing the song. They would be the band. Covenant bears. With their song, Bereave You of Your Children. Welcome, Covenant Bears. Bereave you of your children. Anyways, in the matter-of-fact style that our writer seems to reserve for particularly gory incidents, we had told that 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore 42 of the boys. As lions dealt with prophets who would not hear Yahweh's word, so now these covenant bears, such a great name, deal with this latest outbreak of contempt. Damn. Now, I've known some wealthy people that felt like their money, their lot in life, was ordained by God. Like they felt like, how could I be wrong if God has anointed my life with this much money? And they truly believed that. Like they really felt the wealth that they had, even though a lot of it was, generational wealth. They felt like that meant they could not be wrong because why would God grace them, bless them with so much money? And that was always funny to me because I said, well, if you're believing in the God Jesus, Not sure you know this, but he never carried any cash. He didn't have a big mansion, many cars, many mules, if that was the currency back in the day. Uh, the car currency. He didn't have rims on his mule. I mean, Jesus was not. In fact, look at the people who had money and power at the time of Jesus. The Pharisees. And what did he call them? Whitewashed tombs. He called them a den of vipers. Uh, yeah, the people with money weren't necessarily ordained by Jesus. And in fact, the people that had money and asked Jesus, "How could I follow you?" He said, "Give your money to the poor." He said, "Give up all your wealth if you want to follow me. Then you'll get into heaven." Jesus even said, like, a rich guy can't get into. There are not many rich people in heaven. So I think those people are disillusioned with their wealth being a blessing from God. Because the real blessing from God is being able to bust out a covenant curse and send she bears out of the wood to maul people that jeer at you. That truly means your life is ordained by God. If you ever see anybody busting out a curse and bears just come raging out the woods, no, they are touched by God. That is God's person. And don't mess with them. Do not show them contempt or make fun of their baldness or fatness or just don't tease those people. And God, how do you get that power? Jeez, I gotta start praying more. I want to be able to covenant curse people. All right, we continue on. Is this a shocking incident? Well, is that a rhetorical question? Yes, it is. As Matthew Henry says, who's Matthew Henry? Let the hideous shrieks and groans of this wicked wretched brood make our flesh tremble for the fear of God. But this incident is also one that perfectly fits with the flow of 2 Kings 1:2, in which we see very clearly how God not only works in the darkness, but will not be silenced, continuing to speak through his prophet. It is the response of this prophetic word that determines whether God's people experience blessing or curse. Yeah, I'd say being mauled by bears is absolutely a curse. And it's definitely a blessing to be able to call upon God to have him maul people with bears. Why aren't we seeing that in our modern times? You don't see these Old Testament, old biblical curses playing out in real time anymore. And you'd think we'd see more of them with all the cameras everywhere. So that is the backstory of that comment. But don't make fun of his baldness, though. He'll send a bear to maul you. Next. No wonder Christians are found? Fond, I think they mean, of Trump. He truly is godlike. Well, aren't we all made in the image of God? Aren't we all kind of insecure at times and wanting to be the one and only? I get it. If the God of the Bible really existed, it would be my moral duty to join the effort to hunt it down and kill it. Really? I love how this person's all Deadpool on hunting, killing God. Did he not read the Bible? They already took care of him once. First time Jesus came down. If God existed, we'd have killed him by now. All right, I agree with that comment because the first time God did exist on earth, they crucified him. It's interesting that these people are saying, not only would I not worship, but I would hunt that God down. And do you think it would be easy to hunt God down? Did you not see Predator? And Predator only had like heat vision. God, I'm pretty sure, has omnipotence, which is way better than heat vision. Jesus. Rookies, the lot of them. God only gives us as much suffering as we can endure. I mean, pile us onto the ship to see if we'll break. I don't know what that means. Why? To test our faith and make us appreciate the good that we do have. Well, forgive me for saying so, Reverend, but God is a sick. You know what? I respect that comment. What if we could just tell God, like, hey, God, we don't need the suffering to appreciate the good that we have? Yeah, I get it. Suffering, test of faith, makes you appreciate the good a little more. It makes it that much sweeter, but really? Do you have to go so hard at humanity all the time? No. If the God of Abraham turned out to be real, there's no way I'd worship him. Cruel and sadistic creators don't deserve prayer or adoration. Are these people talking about God of the Old Testament or Jesus? I'm kind of confused and a little bit lost. I thought Jesus was like really kind and sweet and all about loving your neighbor. He was there to fulfill the law. He was there to kind of reverse course of the Old Testament ways. He was there to say, like, love your God and love your neighbor. Those are the most powerful commandments there are. All this old school biblical sadism is long gone. We've moved past that. God's a forgiving God now. But I don't know. Maybe some of these people, maybe I got the original thread wrong. And another thing, they're saying cruel and sadistic creators don't deserve prayer or adoration. But here on Earth, we see cruel and sadistic leaders getting prayer and adoration. I mean, when Netflix releases the next serial murderer series, you see like a cult following for these people. So I'm not saying this commenter's wrong, but they just might not be that accurate. There's a lot of people out there playing fast and loose with their prayer and adoration. Let's continue. I agree with your statement, but I'd go further. The concept of worship in itself is weird. Even if this deity created the universe, and even if they were actually nice, why should I worship them? What does that have to do with one another? I guess I could say, thanks, Sky Dude, but that's it. Thanks, Sky Dude? If they were good, why expect worship in exchange for good deeds? Oh, that's a good point, right? Because isn't character what you do when no one's looking? So if God is ultimately good and he created the universe and everything because he's a good God, then why does he need anything in exchange for being good? Is that showing a lack of character, God? I'm not asking. It's asking for somebody in the Reddit comments. I think you're good. Let's continue on. Even I don't. Would that make me better? Yes, mine aren't as cool as theirs allegedly are, but still. I didn't get the ending of that. What, did I catch a niner in there? Were they trailing off? This was one of the earliest cracks in the edifice of my faith. Oh, this person's about to open up. They just broke out the word edifice. One day I was just kind of all at once noticed how often that word worship is thrown around. A word that was at least weekly, often more, used around me. As common a verb as eat or drive. I hope people are using the word eat more than once a week around you. I did some deep thinking on the concept, and suddenly it made me feel very uncomfortable every time they'd use it. Every time they use the word worship, maybe do some deep thinking on why it's affecting you that bad. They continue. You want me to completely abase myself and give this ethereal being access to my will and thoughts? I'm pretty sure God's omnipotent, so he already has that access. Anyways, and just grovel for half an hour. Then we're all gonna get up and go out to In N Out? This is dumb and creepy. Wait, so your family, or was it your family? Whoever was doing this would make you grovel for half an hour? Why wouldn't they just let you pray? It's all about the teachers you have too. Like prayer shouldn't just be groveling. And then after, would they time you? I have so many questions. Would they time you? And after 30 minutes, they'd be like, "All right, In and Out's the reward for your groveling." That is dumb and creepy. And you were surrounded by some weird people. I would suggest find some other mentors or teachers or other people to help you in this life path because you shouldn't have to grovel for half an hour. Somebody, a great teacher taught me, like when you're talking to God, talk to him like your best friend, like a brother. Or if you got a good relationship with your parents, talk to them like your parents. And you don't have to grovel. You can be grateful, even if life sucks and you're suffering. You're just grateful that the sun came up on you one more day. And it doesn't have to be for half an hour. Man, I want to talk to this person and find out how that all went out, down. And would you get to go out to In and Out every week? Guessing they're in California because they're In and Out. The whole concept of worship started to become repugnant to me after that. Also, probably pretty fattening. If every time you worshipped, you went to In and Out, you're like, God, I got to cut back on my worshiping. I gained about 15 pounds. Of course, if I would be sent to eternal torment unless I kissed Jesus' ass. Okay, so this person says Jesus. We are talking about Jesus. Why do people keep calling him a bully? All right, sorry about that. If I would be sent to eternal torment unless I kissed Jesus' ass, you'd never see a holier ass kisser. That's a weird turn of phrase. Holy ass kisser? A whole ass kisser? Ass kisser hole? The threat of eternal torment would make any other course the definition of insanity. Yeah, I guess if you got the threat of eternal torment over your head, choosing that would make you crazy. All these people acting like they some Van Helsing God Slayer. That is true. A lot of people up in the comments act like they'd hunt God down. Like that'd be easy. Jesus. We couldn't catch Bin Laden for what, 20 years or something? 11 years? I don't even remember. Like 10, like a decade. And these people act like, oh, we just hunt God down. Jesus, the first time he came back, he gave himself over, all right? He knew he was God. He could have, like, outsmarted them, done a magic trick, turned the cross into candy or something, you know what I mean? But he didn't. He allowed it to happen. So these Van Helsing God Slayers in the comments, I agree with this person. They say they don't even know the definition of God. I'd be asking forgiveness every morning with my coffee, going to church every evening after work, and kissing his ass every chance I got. He would know I only do it out of fear, but he probably gets off on that. I do believe God likes a healthy amount of fear in that worship. I can't believe this comment was this far down. Me neither. I mean, yeah, if you have any other response, you simply haven't studied that mother effer. That's right. You don't know Jesus and his kindness. Ultimate forgiver. What's his superpower? Forgiveness. No, they allow horrible ish to happen to good people for no reason and reward total pieces of ish. That's true. But even when Jesus was walking the earth, look at the Pharisees. They were absolute pieces of rubbish. And they were in power. And they're the ones that wanted to condemn Jesus. So, I don't know. It's a weird paradox we're going through. I'd get a gang together, sneak up when he's not omniscenting, and crucify him. Another one of them Van Helsing Godslayers. This one was at least funny. Yeah, they already did that once. Get him while he plays skee ball. Great reference. Dogma, Kevin Smith movie. Go watch it. I'd want some serious answers about all that ish that was pulled and done in the OT. What's the old T? As a starter, before I'd even consider listening to any more. With the other conditions being he'd need to face trial for his crimes and see a therapist for life. Are they talking about a presidential candidate or God here? Face trial, God on trial. It seems like a Hallmark movie title. And you know what? If God did come back, I could see them putting him on trial. 100%. Trying to get God to see a therapist. Damn, that sounds like a fascinating book. I would read that. Commenter, you should write that book. I like the old saying with all the scientists in hell, there's probably air conditioning there now. How old can that saying be? How old is air conditioning? I don't think air conditioning's more than like 80 years old, right? Not a very old saying. We're talking in biblical terms here, people. The idea of heaven, according to fundamentalist believers, scares me more than anything. No sorrow, no pain, no sadness. Sounds good at surface level, but it also means you aren't yourself anymore. They say that you will be so overtaken with God that you will just worship for eternity. You won't think about friends or family, nothing else. A little worship robot, no free will. But if your friends and family are there, would you be worshiping with them? Or, anyways, emotion, productive struggle, and positive change are what make life worth living. We're not talking about life, we're talking about afterlife. Stuck in never ending worship of a deity, no option to do anything else, no option to end it. Never changing for eternity is scarier than any made up punishment a religion can dream up. If those were the only two options, I will hang with all the scientists, engineers, and people that eat shrimp and wear cotton poly blend in the pit. I'm sure that singes pretty quick. This is what I mean by like, are there demons and angels in these comments? Because some of these comments are very thought provoking. This comment, if you've ever watched any of the YouTubers who talk about near death experiences, NDEs, there's a lot of like YouTube channels with it. They talk about that. How like when they died, maybe they saw their father, brother, best friend, dog when they first left their body and entered the ethereal realm. But after that, they were just like a love vibration and they didn't feel anything. When you start thinking about that, that's heavy, man. Just like this commenter. They're saying they'd rather be with the scientists in the air conditioned hell than heaven. Damn. There's got to be a demon right in that one. Clever. And you know them demons are smart. The Christian God is an eldritch horror. What is that, some kind of fantasy book horror? Is that a fantasy role playing game? He would have to answer a hell of a lot of questions that he likely can't answer sufficiently. He's God. I'm pretty sure he's got all the answers. To earn my devoted worship. But then again, horribly torture me for a few centuries, and I probably would say and do anything. I think if you were being tortured, then you're already screwed. So you got to make that decision before. I don't think there's a luxury that like you get to go to hell. And actually, there have been some near-death experience people who they said they were in this like pit of fire, and Jesus came down and got them. So maybe you get a second chance out of hell. I'm not willing to risk it. Would it be like a get out of hell free card, like in Monopoly? Exactly. Always came across as an abusive parent or partner and bully. Are they talking about Jesus? He came across as an abusive parent or bully? Well, I guess Jesus telling everybody if you get slapped, turn the other cheek and let him slap your other cheek. That could kind of be misconstrued as abusive, right? And a bully would totally tell you this: quit punching yourself. And you just can't stop, and you just got to turn the other cheek. He's like, quit punching yourself. Huh. Man, some of the most sophisticated philosophical debates come from the most basic places, like the Reddit comment section. Because now it got me wondering, was Jesus being an abusive bully when he told people to turn the other cheek? I can't figure this out. When he told people if your enemy wants you to walk a mile, go two with them? Is that being a bully? No, come on. No, it's Jesus. It's Jesus. Anyways, let's continue on. It did a number on me as a child. Certainly didn't help me realize that the things going on at home and school were not right at all, and were in fact toxic and abusive. See, that's horrific. And I've heard these stories before that religion helped condone an abusive, toxic place, and that's not what it's about. But then again, what do I know? Jesus. That's why they call faith a mystery. This is so confusing, and I'm really starting to wonder if that's like a demon writing that, trying to win souls to hell. Is there going to be some angels? I don't know. Point atheist right there. I like this quote. If God really existed, it would be necessary to abolish him. Bakunan. Is that a Dragon Ball Z character? Or is that like a quote from anime? I don't know. Sorry, I don't know who Bakunan is. Yes, of course I would. Are you kidding? Eternal hell versus eternal paradises? I think they meant eternal paradise. All for the price of a little repenting and commitment? Who in their right mind wouldn't do that? Yeah, when you think about it, little repenting, we all could repent. Take the religion out of it. Just admitting you're wrong and saying I want to do better and committing to being a better person. It's a good thing. Point God. This has got to be one of his angels in the comment section. Yeah, but Paradise apparently is 24/7 worship of him. Sounds awfully cult like. What is the difference between. Oh, I guess it's a thin religious line when you teeter into cult versus just being part of a religion. Cult is much more extreme. That's what it is. Never mind. I figured it out. Eternal paradise might as well be torture itself if you have nothing to compare it to. Eh, I don't. That comment's suspect. If you're being tortured but you never have experienced paradise, I'm pretty sure you're gonna know it's torture you're going through. You don't need a comparison. Am I wrong? Tell me in the comments. The way I think of it is, did I ever ask my Sims to worship me? Should they have? LOL, nope, absolutely not. I may have created them, but as sure as F wasn't worthy of worship. I don't think that's apples to apples, though. I think that's apples to oranges because you didn't technically create The Sims. You're just a player in the game. Whoever created The Sims game, we got to ask them if they felt worthy of worship. Admit it, though. When one of your Sims drank their 10th glass of water in a row, you can see why God sometimes wants to turn free will off. Uh, Sometimes you just gotta wonder if God's up there going, damn, should I just shut this free will off? These people and their 10th. 10th glass of water in a row. That was a good comment. Point comedy. Would I believe in God then? Yes, because we would know for a fact that God exists. Would I worship him? Absolutely not. God of the Bible reserves no worship, assuming that the stories about God as laid out in the Bible are true. I'm more morally superior than God of the Bible. Are they talking about Old Testament God? You can't just. He was talking about the Christian deity. That means they're talking about Jesus. The stories of Jesus are radical, man. Would you really not appreciate a guy who came to your wedding and was like, oh, you only got water left? Boop. Nope. Now you got the best wine in all of Israel. People would adore that man. And they did, for the most part. Next comment. He owes me an apology. Ego? All the more reason not to. Like saying, would you be a Republican MAGA if Trump will win? Honestly, I would, simply because God kind of decides what's right and what's wrong. He is literally above consequences. What's the point in defying him past that point? That is a fascinating point. God did decide what was right and wrong. In the Old Testament, was it kind of like eye for an eye? You could stone a prostitute to death, and not in the like, that way, but in like throw rocks at her. And then Jesus came along and was like, nah, man, we're forgiving, man. Everybody just chill out. Everybody just take a chill pill, man. What'd he say? He was like, whoever has no sin, cast the first stone. All you heard was rocks dropping to the ground. Because everybody's like, what? Damn, we want to throw some rocks at somebody today. Jesus came around and changed all that. So yeah, he's this God just gets to decide what's right and wrong. Who knows what the future will bring? But why defy it? Arrogance. It's just arrogance. These comments are kind of appalling. If we care about reason and rationality, one of the biggest reasons we don't believe in the first place. Oh, is that it? Are atheists just about reason and rationality? Because how do you reason existence? Please, somebody tell me that. How are you reasoning like humanity's existence? I can't reason or rationale that. So anyways, please leave it in the comments if you can. We should also recognize that if we come face to face with the sentient designer of the universe and human race, then we are objectively wrong to disagree with it. There has never in human history been a more objective standard of right and wrong than there would be in that moment. To still disagree would be worse than climate change denying or other anti-science craziness. In fact, it would be anti-science. The only rational response is to drop our ego and realize we were wrong. Fortunately, it will never happen. But I'm surprised how many other atheists would gladly put their own ego and emotions before reason. Good point. Point God in this one. And it's fascinating to say that would be anti-science. If God proved himself and could prove himself, then that would mean God created science, and to deny God would to be denying science. It would be anti-science. It's so fascinating, though, people that believe in the science route and believe that the Big Bang created anything. Because I always wonder, like, well, what created the thing that allowed the Big Bang to happen? Like, the Big Bang couldn't just exist. What banged together? What was banging out there? Like, something had to make the bang part before it became big and created everything. Like, if you know, please leave it in the comments, because I still don't get a good answer on that one. Like, I get it, the Big Bang happened. What allowed the Big Bang to happen? There couldn't just be not like, what put the thing for the Big Bang, baby? Stone Temple Pilots. Nope, a God being real makes it worse. He's a horrible, evil. This person says, hell-worthy even. Is God hell-worthy? Interesting. Conundrum. I'm telling you, some of this stuff is just like Matrix style brain breaking when you get to thinking about it. Let's read this one. Questions like this always befuddle me. I always love when people use the word befuddle. How precisely would I determine that God was real? How would I tell the difference between an actual event that verifies the existence of God, an elaborate hoax, or something really out there like a powerful alien race that I had mistaken for God? Oh, mighty Martian, your comment, I feel like, is the Martian, the aliens getting into the comment section on Reddit. It's not just demons and aliens. It's not just demons and aliens anymore. Now we got Martians in here trying to convince people of a powerful alien race. They're all duking it out. This is such an ethereal battlefield right now. Oh, and here's the OP, the original poster. You're thinking way too deep about this. Well, I think a lot of people are. Well, not the Van Helsing God Slayers, but he says it's the situation for a hypothetical. Just assume you know they are God, whether that's because they destroyed and recreated the universe before your very eyes, or because they carried you through time to show you all that they did. Whatever works for you. Point is that you know. I mean, for them to prove it was God to me, I don't think they'd have to destroy and recreate the universe before my very eyes. If they just like picked me up and flew me 50 feet in the air, without a cape or any special effects or wires, I was just flying, I'd be like, you have to be God. I've never seen a human fly. It'd be very simple to prove it to me. This person says, I be following Kratos' footsteps. And I be not knowing what that means. They said, yeah, you basically invented Gnosticism. Did they? That's funny. I'd like to say I wouldn't follow a god who kept his own torture chamber to torment me for eternity. Yeah, no, I'd say that people who do that here on Earth, we put in prison. In reality, of course, if I was given irrefutable proof that such a situation existed, it would be insane not to worship the awful, disgusting deity. Geez, no matter how morally repugnant I found it, I am not so wedded to my principles to endure eternal damnation and misery when it is demonstrated that my principles mean nothing in the bleak universe. Whew. Point God? Nope. No one demanding subjugation or a relationship, as some Christian brainwashed insist, for the evasion of eternal torture is worthy of friendship, let alone worship. That effer is an authoritarian monster of an incel. Well, he is omnipotent. He kind of, I mean, he's God. Of course he's going to have authoritarian streaks. Just look at any of the politicians who think they're like God. They're all authoritarians. It just comes with the territory. Follow someone that demands you worship them, demands you love them, while demanding you fear them. Sounds like some crazy dictator crap. Oh, dude, I don't know if they're demanding you fear them. I think we learned with the mauling of the she-bears. God just wants you to have a healthy, respectable fear of his ability to send a covenant curse she-bear to maul you. And let me tell you, it works with me. Given how I understand reality to work, as a currently rational person, what were you previously? Irrational? I'd like to think that if I suddenly started to believe what I'd need to believe in order to accept the Christian deity, you could just say Jesus. Why do people keep doing this? As real. I'd recognize the symptoms of a mental disorder and seek help. So so even if they were given irrefutable proof, they would check themselves into a mental hospital. That is, I consider it far more likely that my brain and ability to tell fact from fiction would have failed than it is a deity would turn out to be actually real. Oh, I don't know if this is sad or hilarious. Whether that's what would actually happen is unclear, since you can't think your way out of a problem with your thinker, and you can't predict the failure of prediction. Hmm. Anyways, believe that it exists? Yes. Worship? F no. Wow, some people are really just against bending the knee to God. That's all ego, right? Like they just can't get over themselves? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Nope. Why would I devote myself to a cruel, narcissistic mass murderer who needs constant validation? I already have a cat. Cats are very much made in God's image. Not there when you call on them, and up in your face when you're busy and trying to do something. But again, this commenter, I know it was a joke, but we're talking about Jesus. Not the old gods. You can acknowledge a king and still rebel. The Christian gods and holy morals won't be a god I follow. That comment sounds like you're riding up on a morality horse up there. Rebels have a chance of success. Yeah, that's true. That commenter's right. Didn't we learn anything from Star Wars? This one says, no, and I don't follow sports either. What? I'd have words for those who would be comfortable with people committing violence in their name. Good point. I have words for who created a caste system, condemned souls they created to be persecuted and damned for eternity. Hasa, I don't know what that is. Is that Ewok language? I ain't reading it. No, I would never worship a God that willingly sends people to be tortured for eternity, nor a God who willingly allows child cancer and catastrophic natural disasters to exist. That's why it can be such a struggle to have a belief in your faith. This person says no, but I do have some questions for him. Alright, I think we've fallen deep enough down the Reddit rabbit hole. If you like videos like this, then hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, and the thumbs up button. Did we end up like Michael Stipe of REM? Were we losing our religion? I don't think so. But it's good to hear these very differing points of view. But again, I think a little challenge to your faith helps solidify it. Put some faith upon your chest, or hair upon your character, or faith upon your chest characters. You get what I'm saying. Thanks for watching. Amen.